Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time. Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. I'm your host, Nnamdi Osuagwu, and today is a solo show, so we're going to be, thanks for joining. It's going to be a conference recap. So earlier this week, I went to the Open Source and Finance Forum in New York, the FINOS conference. It's pretty cool conference. It's like lately, since last year, started to attend conferences, which is cool because of the show. I've been attending it as press, so I've been having the opportunity to talk to folks, get some line interviews up for deeper discussion, so they could come on my show. So it's been a good experience. So what we're going to start doing as part of the show, obviously attending conferences, getting quick conversations and posting it. So all the quick conversations that we had on video on Monday, we didn't post it yet, but we're going to post some pics from the conference and so forth. So I'm going to add that dynamic moving forward to the episode, so we can do some things live and meet people face to face. As you guys know, because you've been following me for the last hopefully like 4 years, since we started this journey, all of our conversations are virtual for the most part. This allows us to interact with people globally, different time zones and so forth. So that's what we've been doing. But conferences are definitely a great time to meet people face to face. Really interesting with the FINOS conference. I had the founder on an episode and that's how I learned about the conference. And it was a great discussion and so forth. And I said, let's we talked about the conference, and then I ended up going. And it's so crazy when you interview. I've been interviewing guests for, like I said, years, or almost up to 200 shows. And it's so funny because you don't realize the height, So when I met the Gabrielle Columbro, it's way taller than I expected. It was like a funny joke. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. But it was really great. I spent most of my time at the conference in the breakout room, because I was having a lot of conversations, so I didn't get a chance to attend the keynotes. But I was talking to mostly like vendors, also participate guests who came, like other people, and just getting their idea of the conference and so forth. So I felt like a reporter on this. Usually, when I go to conferences from a technical perspective, I'm there, learning, taking notes and so forth. But in this time, it was definitely a different feel, but it was really good. I want to jump into some stuff. So let me just give an overview. If you missed our show on FINOS, and what is FINOS, right? It's a FinTech open source foundation. So this conference, they sponsored the conference. It's they put it together. They have sponsors, open source and finance. So what I'm going to do, if you missed the episode where we really dived into FINOS, because we had I'm gonna put it in the comments, so this way you can see that past episode. Let me put it in the comments right now, and I'm just going to give an overview of the conference itself. Second, let me get that in the comment section. And afterwards, so we're going to go through some things that I learned. We have so many people to follow up with that are going to be guests on the show, so we're going to be diving into some really great discussions that upcoming week. I have to coordinate schedules and so forth. But here is the our past podcast episode that led to led to me learning about the conference and attending it from a press perspective. I just put it in the chat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Tech Behind FinTech, open source, and FinTech innovation insights from FINOS, you'll see the episode where we really dived in deep on what is FINOS. Like I said, the founder, really insightful, smart dude, and also talked about how you could get involved with the open source movement in general. Really good episode. So that episode kind of corresponds with this is a follow up in terms of actually attending the conference. So you can see that. You can you can go there and take a look at that to get more deep. But in general, let me just give an overview of FINO. So, FinTech Open Source Foundation, it has over 55 member organizations, including leading financial institutions like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, as well as tech companies like GitHub and Red Hat. They have FINOS has currently like 50 open source projects aimed at solving industry challenges and regulation, compliance, and operational efficiency. They're also spearheading efforts for financial DevOps, promoting collaboration between financial institutions and developers to streamline and enhance scalability using open source tools. What here's the idea, right? So, open source, for those that don't know, the whole idea is built from a community perspective. It's public, it's free. It's usually supported by a community effort of those who are passionate about a particular project, and they dedicate or volunteer their time to build this thing. But here's the kicker, right? So once the open source project is built, you have an ecosystem of vendors, consultants, and support staff that may emerge based on this project because it needs to be supported. So yes, it's definitely supported by the community of builders, but when you're taking an open source project and then you're putting it in a commercial environment, sometimes they may, want a little bit more speed, a little bit more dedicated resource. So that's where you have this ecosystem of vendors that are created. And what's also a trend that you start to see with these open source projects is that now, depending on the licensing, obviously, right? But vendors then build products on top of one of the the open source initiatives. So that's definitely something that you see. And what makes Finos unique is that it's open source dedicated to fintech and the financial industry, which for those that don't know, I mean, my past worked in banking, and from fintechs to large banks. Right, like years ago, that was just unheard of, like because if you think about it, if you have a project that, let's say, Goldman is a part of, or different banks, you're basically building something that your competitors are going to use, and it's a whole bunch of other stuff. So so this whole is relatively new. Not saying brand new, but relatively, right? Because the banks have been getting involved, and there's one project in particular. I talked to the company. I want to talk about this real quick. Um, there was a project called. I want to just get the full name of it before I talk about it. Yeah, FDC3. So it's a financial desktop connectivity and collaboration consortium. FDC3 is a Finos project aimed at standardizing interapp communication. Excuse me, interapp communication and financial services. Sorry, guys, throat got real dry, and I don't want to have to like put something down, or I'm going to be talking real raspy and choking on my own words. But FDC3, a Finos project aimed at standardizing inter-app communication and financial services, helping streamline workflows and between systems. So to get that, that's a free project. But I was talking to the guys from a company called Interop, and they built their software on top of using the FTC3, they built their software on top of it, and it allows, desktop trading applications you can interact. So, if you think about it, and I'm going to have these guys on the show because we're going to really dive into it because it's a really, really, it's cool. Like I didn't know too much about the desktop interoperability and applications like that. But if you're a trader, you have all these different applications from various vendors going on. It allows you now to just literally work between the different apps, copy, paste, move things as if you're working with a suite of Microsoft products. Really, really cool. I'm not doing it justice because one of the leaders there, Shane, was walking me through it, like totally mind blowing and really, really interesting stuff. And I'm coordinating right now uh, to get guys from that company on, along with a consultant. Probably you do a two-man show. We're trying to coordinate now, but that's why like the conferences is cool. Like you get to talk to people, interesting conversations, and then we can schedule them for the Tech Behind FinTech so that we can dive deeper into these type of conversations. One of the things I wanted to talk about, which, like I said, I look at open source not from the financial side, but so it was like new to me. So I was like totally excited to learn these different stuff and functions. So when you start looking at larger organizations like banks and so forth, they have something called the OSPO. I want to make sure that I have the acronym correct. Like sometimes I don't like just dropping acronyms, and I want to make sure that I get this acronym correct before. Let me just do that. I have a whole description, but I don't want to just drop the acronym without telling you guys what it means. Okay, it's real simple. So OSPO is the Open Source Program Office. OSPO, right? So, what they really deal with, if you think about it, you have, all these different open source initiatives that developers or internal resources want to take advantage of. How is that going to be coordinated? I mean, when you're dealing with a small fintech, you're not going to have an OSPO, most likely, you're because you're small, but you're dealing with major organizations with thousands and thousands of employees, developers. Um, it can get really complicated to deal. Like, how do open source is cool, but you have to also make sure that your licensing, you're compliant, because if you think about it, this is free public software, and certain sometimes they have license restrictions. So although people who are in the non-commercial space can download it and use it, when you now start to use it for commercial purposes, you have to make sure that you're aligned with the licensing and so forth. So it's governance and compliance who manages that. That's what this office handles, right? And I was talking to someone who works in that capacity for a financial organization. Hopefully, we can get her scheduled on the show to really dive into it. Because I'm curious to learn more about it. I wasn't as familiar with the process. I haven't been in a large financial institution quite a few years. I've been mostly dealing more on the startup fintech side. So obviously, you're a startup. We don't have a need for an OSPO at all. So it's really for the large organizations. So they really help with the open source strategy. They also work with community engagement. So they coordinate, contributions to the open source project, because you aren't a large organization. You obviously have a lot of resources and so forth. So how is that all? How can you contribute to the community? I mean, the advantage is, if you think about it, to contribute to the community is that you want to spur on development and innovation, right? You have the resources, the capital. These guys are doing it for free, so you can sponsor an organization like FINOS, or sponsor a particular project, and dedicate resources to it, as you see fit. So that's one of the things that OSPO coordinates. They also security and risk management, right? So They also introduced potential security risk. I mean, that's like a major thing. That's why I mean, learning about this initiative, I was always concerned. You know, me, I put on my security hat, so I'm like, okay, well, how are we how are we managing this and so forth. So that's one of the things that the OSPO also works with in terms of mitigating certain risk, right? So, you know, who's part of the community that's building this particular open source project, right? Like, or how is it supported? Or is it a big group? Is it just one guy in Wisconsin? Like, what's going on? So I would assume that happens. Another function of the OSPO um, open source program office is to education and advocacy. They play a key role in educating employees about open source best practices, from license compliance to effective community engagement. They also advocate for open source adoption and support the integration of open source into the company's products and services. So it's basically it's like the PMO, like project management office, but for open source. So that's essentially what the OSPO is. And like I said, we're coordinating. We met a person that's really vocal and has a lot of experience there at the conference. So we're going to coordinate to get her on the show so we can really dive deep into it. So yeah, I mean, I like I definitely like the idea of attending conferences. It's one of the things I haven't been doing as frequent as I would like to. I did attend like this was the first time I did attend the Money 2020 conference last year as press. So, you know, in 2025, I'm gonna look to do more of that, you know, to really bring you guys some interesting guests, keep the finger on the pulse of what's going on in fintech and really dive into you know, various things. So that's gonna be my promise to you in terms of start getting outside in the world again. I mean, sometimes you get comfortable, you know, staying in your remote side, but you gotta go out and touch the people. That was kind of important. All right, so what else? That's the OSPO. Wanted to talk about that because very important. That's one of the things I learned. What else? What else? So I want to shout out some companies that I talked to that hopefully we're going to coordinate and get them on the show. So I'm going to shout out the first D from Predict AI. Really interesting company, near and dear to my heart because they're into ML ops securities, ML SecOps. So that's one of the things that they specialize in. Really insightful conversation. I'm going to post I did do an on the spot interview with D, but we're gonna go in. Hopefully, I'll get him on the show. We could go in further, but I'll post that. We're just coordinating. We got a lot of content from the conference, so we're just coordinating on that conference. I mean, on a conference, all the content, and we'll start posting it. So, want to shout out Predict AI. Really good conversation. You know, check out their blue team initiative. Let me put that up. Let me put that in the channel. Hey, what's up? Somebody saying what's up to me. Diggs, by the way, one. Hey, what's up? Also, somebody on Twitch. Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for watching the show. Okay, let me shout these guys out. Predict AI, MLSecOps. So you go to mlseccops.com. It's a community if you're interested in it. Basically, security around the ML ML ops pipeline. Like, how's that working? Like, we're bringing all of these models. It has to go through a phase in which it goes to production. What I mean, like anything, like we was, well, I'm an application security. So anything that you're going to put to production, how is that secured? And I think right now, with the whole buzz on AI and the rush to AI, we're forgetting about security. These guys are not. It's something that, like I said, I want to look into as part of my studies and research. I've been really curious about how to secure the ML pipeline. So it's really good that they're doing it. I joined that based on our conversation and a resource. I even joined the community. This is just outside of the podcast. It's part of my research efforts and so forth. So I'm definitely interested in bringing D on the show. I'm definitely gonna harass him until he comes on the show and really breaks it down and just how he got into it and so forth. Uh, Another company that we talked to, we shot these guys out. We get them on the show. You're doing. Let me get the URL. Let me get the URL. Cool, found them. So want to shout out turn table. Definitely want to shout these guys out. Let me let me put them in the chat. All right, so they provide software engineering solutions for businesses all around the world. They're based in Ghana. They work with solutions and they help the OSPO, from my understanding, from talking to Storm. He's their COO. But besides their the things that they're doing with software and working with the open source community and so forth, and working with larger banks, what fascinates me about these guys is they're a social good organization. Probably messing up the term, but essentially, it's the company's based in Ghana. Their COO, let me leave this on the screen so you can see. Their COO is in the UK. CEOs in Brooklyn, but they turn in a profit. But at a certain point, they're going to relinquish everything and leave it for the employees in Ghana to run the company in perpetuity. Fascinating. Like when I heard that, I was like, I need to talk to you. I want to understand it. I mean, I want to understand what you're doing in working in open source and how you building solutions around that and supporting various offices. I think he mentioned OSPO, but really, I'm fascinated by the business model and what they aim to do at a certain point of profitability. That kind of blew my mind, and I want to learn more about that. And I think it'll be a great conversation. So I will shout you out and coordinate our schedules. Storm. Okay. Uh, yeah. So definitely like to coordinate with you, and like I'm really just fascinated by your business model. It touches my heart actually. Another company that we talked to out there, talked to Cole from Perforce. Want to shout them out. So some more so consulting services for open source um, organizations leveraging open source. So I'll put their site on. Had a good conversation with Cole. So just putting everybody on that I talked to. Definitely thank you for your time. Appreciate the convos. And if you could go to their website. Let me just read some stuff. So they provide DevOps, finding a DevOps edge for outperformers, but in the realm of open source, they help support organizations that are leveraging open source. So they'll provide the consulting services and so forth. What is we talked to a few companies. Let me see if I can find another one that we talked to and put it up. So for guys listening on Spotify, I'm essentially just putting the I'm putting the websites of some of the companies that we talked to in addition to naming them. And let me post. I don't know if I did it earlier, but I talked about that, but let me just post interop because it's definitely something that we have to yeah, I'll post interop. We had a really good conversation with Shane and Jim, so let me post there. Like I said earlier, right? Their software is based on the open source initiative FDC3, in which it provides interoperability between disparate applications. So you'll think about it from more of a trading desk, different applications that traders use or people in that industry, and interacting, seamlessly with those applications, although they come from different sources and vendors. So let me just give them some love, interrupt. And we talked to so a lot others, but those are some of the ones that I wanted to shout out. Also, I have to reach out to him, but we may have a real popular guest. He said that he'll not going to name drop right now until it's confirmed, but he said that he'll come on the show. Just he was rushing, so we were talking while we were walking. But I will reach out to him and coordinate that effort. Really, really, really cool dude. So it's really it. Just wanted to kind of give an overview. I think it was a very fruitful outing. Like I said, the commitment I have right now is I'm going to start, going to more and going to press, having some conversations. This was the first one, so some lessons learned and things that we could have done from a tech behind fintech standpoint, to improve on. But in general, that's just the idea. You gotta go out, experiment, see what works, what doesn't, and figure out how to have these great conversations, coordinate with some really interesting people, bring them on the show, help the audience learn more, dive into things. So that's our commitment, that we promise to you, the audience, and we thank you guys for the support. A few things I want to mention. Number one, we are launching the Tech Behind FinTech, um, web platform, and it's going to entail all financial news, going to be like a news aggregation. We're going to have a humongous fintech directory. We're going to start featuring some fintech developer of the week, and it's going to be an awesome tribute to the fintech industry. So look out for that. Our goal is to launch that the next few couple of weeks, actually. So we want to make sure it's launched before Money 2020. We will be attending Money 2020 this year in Vegas. So it's definitely going to be some interesting conversations that come from that. What else is going on? That's like the big news. I mean, other than that, we have a series of guests lined up, starting next week, and hopefully run us December. Then hopefully in December we can start having some of the contacts we met from FINOS. December, and moving into January, and then we'll probably meet more contacts in Money 2020. So we'll coordinate all of those different things. Definitely exciting times for the show. You guys who have stuck by us watching, we definitely are thankful. Oh, so funny. So funny story. Have to shout out my man Kelly. So I was I was at the conference, and so this young man smiled at me. I smiled back, just thinking, regular being polite. He said, "It's you." I said, "Okay." Like, I watched your show, Tech Behind Film. I was like, "Oh snap!" I was like, "Really?" So I was like, I was, was happy. It's not like I have like a million followers. I'm not Joe Rogan out this piece, but the fact that he recognized me, we had a really great conversation afterwards, and turned out he's been watching for like since 2020. I think I brought on Renee, cybersecurity super recruiter. She's going to be back on the show in a couple of weeks. I think she's scheduled to come back on. So I think one of her people from her community, when I brought her on the show, kind of started to follow me since then. So it's a real interesting lesson too, because I think around 4 years ago, when he contacted me and asked me a question about the CISSP, and I responded, gave him some resources. So you just in general, it just pays to just be cool to people, man. I didn't ignore him. I wasn't like, at the time, right? That I responded and said, "Oh, yeah, this is what you do," and then he remembered that. You never know, just by being nice to people, the impact you'll have, and circle back. They could be one of your biggest supporters. And you're not being nice just so they can support you. Just be nice because, hopefully that's within you to do, but you just never know the impact you have. So he was like so excited to see me, and and it was a great conversation. It turned out we kind of knew people, a person in particular in our network. So yeah, now I have a new friend. So shout out to Kelly, man. Yes, want to give that shout out. What else? I think that's it. You know, so funny. Like when I do the solo shows, you don't feel like I'm talking to myself, but apparently people are watching, and someone's gonna see this. So that's always found that funny. I said that in order to like I think if you grow up as an only child, I was not an only child. I am not an only child, but I'm like the youngest. So I spent a lot of time by myself and kind of used to have imaginary friends. I think it makes it easier. Fast forward doing a podcast and we don't have a guest. You could just, I can literally stay here with you guys and just ramble all day. And it really stems from childhood and like kind of doing this to entertain myself. But yeah, I'm not gonna do that because you have things to do and I have things to do as well. So I'm not gonna just stay here and just start rambling about random things. But just let you know I can if I wanted to. Um, but yeah, I always found that interesting when I do a solo show because it's like the only person I'm looking at right now is like literally myself on the screen. But obviously there's other people like that might be watching. I think that's it. Great show. Need to shout out some of the FINOS staff. I mean, guys were really just accommodating, to me and my little stand interviewing people. I did help out. I felt like a part of the staff because I was around their desk throughout the whole event, and I started to literally um help place the water bottles and things like that, and helping some of their teammates do it. So I'm like, I'm here, so this is my way of paying rent for occupying the space. But yeah, Rima, Neve, obviously Gab, thank you very much for having me at Tech Behind FinTech. Getting us access, really appreciate it. Look forward to attending future conferences, and definitely what you guys are doing is awesome, and I'm totally support it. And I joined the Finos community as well. Totally support what you guys are doing. Yeah, and I think that's it. So thank you very much for your time. I wish all of you a happy, joyous, spectacular weekend. And on that note, you can catch us at the Tech Behind FinTech Live, 12 p.m. Friday, every Friday, same time, same bat channel. We thank you very much for your support. Whether you are watching it live, whether you're watching it, you're going to watch it tomorrow, or whether you watch it next year, we thank you for your support, your continued support in this effort of the Tech Behind FinTech. So on that note, I will bid you adieu and you take care of yourself. Cheers.
Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.